Have you ever been with a woman who seems distant, almost indifferent, and yet you catch yourself thinking about her long after the conversation is over? Maybe you replay her words, her laughter, even the way she moved her hand. You tell yourself she doesn't care, she's not interested. But here's the truth most men never notice. The mind of a woman who is quietly invested is often more active than you realize. She could be thinking about you constantly, without ever saying a word. What makes this so subtle, and why do so many men miss it? It's because the signs aren't loud, flashy, or dramatic. There are no bold declarations, no obvious "I like you" notes dropped across the room. Instead, it's in the quiet, almost invisible ways she engages with you, a glance that lingers fractionally too long, a smile that feels slightly out of place, as though she's thinking of something else. Moments like these are whispers of attention, hints of deeper curiosity. And if you've trained yourself to dismiss the small things, you could miss the most important signals of all. The human brain is wired to notice patterns, but the heart notices subtleties. And women, more than most, are masters of subtlety when it comes to attraction or emotional investment. She might check your social media long after the conversation ended, not to stalk, but because she's replaying moments, considering your personality, and imagining possibilities. She might comment on small things, or reference something you mentioned in passing, almost as if the memory of it is alive in her mind. This is not casual, this is unconscious attention, this is thinking about you, even when she seems distant. And yet, here's the paradox. The closer someone feels to you emotionally, the more they can hide it. For many women, admitting interest too early feels vulnerable, risky. So instead, she masks it with ordinary behavior. She may laugh at your jokes with a little more warmth, remember minor details about your life, or mirror your expressions without realizing it. These are subtle reflections of a mind occupied by thoughts of you. Most men, expecting bold gestures, overlook them completely. Right now, I want you to pause and think. How often do you misread silence as disinterest? How often do you ignore repeated small gestures because they don't match the narrative you've created in your head? What if what you think is indifference is actually intense, ongoing thought, a quiet curiosity that could grow into something meaningful if you learn to recognize it? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what to notice, these almost invisible signals that reveal she is, in fact, deeply thinking about you. You'll start to see patterns you've ignored, and you'll learn why her subtlety is not rejection, but a sign of her attention and mental investment. Before we continue, if you find yourself drawn to understanding human behavior, the subtle art of attraction, and how to navigate relationships with insight and confidence, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. There's a lot more waiting ahead that will shift how you perceive women's attention and her unspoken thoughts completely. One of the first signs you can notice is how she remembers the smallest details about you. Not the big, obvious things, your favorite color or the city you live in, but the fleeting moments, the tiny fragments you barely mention in passing. Maybe you offhandedly talked about a book you're reading, a childhood memory, or even a silly habit you have, and later she references it. Perhaps she asks about something you mentioned once, months ago. This isn't coincidence. This is attention. This is her mind revisiting you when you're not even aware. Women's attention works differently than men's. While men often show interest through action or direct conversation, women frequently demonstrate their curiosity and emotional investment internally first. She might not immediately express it out loud, but her mind loops through your interactions repeatedly. She'll analyze, imagine, and even anticipate your reactions. This mental rehearsal is a subtle yet powerful indicator. You are on her mind, often more than you realize. Another behavior to watch for is her timing and responsiveness. Notice if she engages with you in ways that seem unplanned, almost instinctive. A sudden message during her day that doesn't require a reason, a just thinking of you kind of note, or a call when she's technically busy. These moments aren't random. They are her subconscious finding excuses to reconnect. It's important to understand that this is rarely about manipulation. It's a natural reflection of her internal focus on you. You may also detect her curiosity through questions that dig deeper than casual conversation. A woman who is thinking about you often seeks to understand your personality, your values, and your emotional world. She may ask seemingly innocent questions about your childhood, your daily routines, or your dreams, but these inquiries are a subtle exploration of who you are beyond the surface. She's building a mental map of you. And because this attention is largely internal, her expressions can sometimes feel understated. A raised eyebrow, a small smile, or a quiet nod while you talk might indicate she's deeply engaged, even if she doesn't say much. Then, there's the way she reacts to your moods. If she notices when something excites or frustrates you, even in ways you haven't explicitly expressed, this is a sign of mental attunement. Women who are thinking about someone often tune into subtle emotional cues, the tone of your voice, micro-expressions, changes in energy. If she adjusts her conversation, her gestures, or her presence in response, it's not coincidence. Her mind is connecting dots you might not even realize exist. Finally, pay attention to her indirect engagement. Sometimes it's not about what she says to you, but what she does when you're not around. She may mention you to friends, or you might notice patterns of subtle admiration in her social media activity, or casual comments that surface repeatedly in different contexts. These actions are small windows into her ongoing mental focus. They reveal that even when she seems silent or distant, she is, in fact, mentally and emotionally occupied with you. Recognizing these behaviors requires patience and observation. It's about tuning into subtleties rather than looking for overt signals. And once you start noticing them, you'll begin to see a pattern, a hidden rhythm in her interactions that signals genuine attention. What makes these subtle behaviors truly powerful is the emotional weight behind them. It's not just that she remembers small details or checks in with you unexpectedly, it's that her mind and heart are quietly engaged with your presence. When a woman is thinking about someone deeply, even in ways she doesn't articulate, it creates a kind of invisible emotional thread connecting her to that person. And this connection often operates beneath conscious awareness. Think about how it feels when someone lingers in your thoughts unexpectedly. Maybe you notice her image in your mind during mundane moments, walking to work, waiting for coffee, or scrolling through your day. For women, this mental replay works in a similar way. When she recalls your voice, your expressions, or even small gestures, it's an emotional rehearsal, a private reflection that subtly reinforces her connection to you. This isn't superficial or casual. Her mind is investing energy, attention, and emotion into you without needing recognition. The emotional resonance of these behaviors often appears as subtle shifts in her demeanor around you. She might seem more animated when you speak, yet calm when listening. She may laugh at moments that wouldn't seem particularly humorous, or pause thoughtfully before responding. These micro-reactions are signs of her emotional attunement. She's processing your presence, your words, and your energy at a deep, subconscious level. And because it's not overt, many men mistake these cues for ordinary politeness, missing the depth of attention behind them. There's another layer to understand. Women tend to express emotional interest cautiously. Direct expressions of fascination or attraction carry vulnerability, and vulnerability is often regulated with restraint. This is why you might feel uncertainty, why her attention feels inconsistent or understated. Her quiet observation, her repeated mental engagement, is a form of safe emotional investment. She's thinking about you continuously, but she's doing so in a way that protects her own emotional balance. Recognizing this requires patience and sensitivity, because the signals are often indirect, sometimes hidden in plain sight. And here's an important point. Emotional investment often precedes verbal expression. She may not tell you she's thinking about you nonstop, but her mind has already mapped your patterns, your moods, and even your unspoken cues. The things she remembers, the questions she asks, and the timing of her interactions all carry emotional significance. Each small gesture is a reflection of ongoing mental processing, meaning she values your presence more than words alone can convey. This emotional engagement also explains why a woman can feel distant at times yet remain mentally present. She may appear detached or busy, but internally, her thoughts are circling around you repeatedly. She's analyzing, imagining, and connecting dots, often with remarkable precision. This is why paying attention to subtle behaviors is far more revealing than waiting for overt declarations. If you learn to read these signs accurately, you'll understand not just what she does, but why she does it. And you'll begin to recognize the hidden ways she is investing emotionally in you, even when she seems silent. By now, you've likely begun to notice a pattern: the subtle attention, the mental replay, the emotional investment. But there's a deeper layer that most men completely overlook: patterns. Women who think about someone nonstop often exhibit behaviors that repeat in ways so consistent they almost form a rhythm. These patterns are quiet, but once you learn to recognize them, they become unmistakable. One of the most revealing patterns is repetition of contact, but in indirect ways. She may not call or text you constantly, but when she does reach out, it tends to happen in meaningful intervals. Perhaps she follows up on something you mentioned days ago, or resurfaces a topic you discussed weeks back. This is not casual engagement, it's her mind returning to you, replaying previous interactions, and checking for continuity. The mind, when emotionally invested, seeks closure, clarity, and connection. Repetition is a sign that she is mentally looping through her thoughts of you. Another pattern to notice is consistency in attentiveness. Look at how she responds to your stories, questions, or moods. Does she consistently notice subtle shifts in your tone or expression? Does she adapt her behavior, even slightly, to match your energy? When a woman is thinking about someone, her attentiveness is rarely accidental. It manifests in repeated sensitivity to your moods, a pattern of attunement that shows she's mentally present even when physically distant. Physical and nonverbal cues also reveal these patterns. She may mirror your gestures over time, laugh at your specific style of humor repeatedly, or maintain eye contact longer than necessary. Each instance alone might seem coincidental, but repetition creates a psychological footprint. The more these small behaviors recur, the clearer the evidence that her mind is actively engaged with you. It's as if she's leaving invisible markers of her attention, a trail you can learn to read. Pay attention to her curiosity as well. Does she repeatedly ask about your thoughts, feelings, or experiences? Does she return to subjects you've mentioned before, seeking clarity or offering insight? These questions aren't random. They are part of a subtle pattern of mental exploration. Her mind is mapping your personality, your values, and your emotional landscape. She's mentally investing time and energy in understanding who you truly are, not out of obligation, but because you occupy her thoughts. Finally, notice the patterns in timing. Women often reach out during moments when they are most reflective: quiet evenings, weekend mornings, or transitional points in their day. These moments of engagement reveal mental focus. She isn't just reacting to the moment, she is choosing, often subconsciously, to insert you into her thoughts when she has the mental space to do so. Recognizing these patterns requires a shift in perception. Instead of waiting for overt signs, pay attention to the rhythm of her attention. Look for repeated behaviors, subtle consistency, and indirect engagement. These patterns are the quiet signals of someone thinking about you more than you realize. Once you start seeing them clearly, you'll understand the invisible thread connecting you and why her mind, even in silence, is often fully present with you. To understand why she is thinking about you so often, it helps to step into her psychological world. Women process emotional experiences differently than men. Their attention is naturally attuned to patterns, connections, and relational dynamics. When she repeatedly thinks about someone, it's rarely random. It reflects a deep mental and emotional engagement that is part instinct, part conscious reflection. One reason she keeps thinking about you is emotional resonance. Something about your presence, your energy, or the way you express yourself has made a meaningful impression. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's a laugh, a thought, or a quality she admires. Her mind revisits you because emotional resonance leaves a mark. Unlike casual acquaintances or fleeting interactions, you've triggered a connection that her brain recognizes as important, even if she hasn't articulated it. Another factor is anticipation and imagination. When a woman is curious about a man, she often plays out possible scenarios in her mind. She imagines conversations, shared experiences, and even potential conflicts or challenges. This isn't overthinking. It's a form of mental rehearsal that allows her to explore the depth of her feelings without risk. If she's replaying interactions, considering your reactions, or mentally walking through what-if scenarios, it's a sign you occupy her thoughts in a meaningful way. Psychologically, repetition and mental looping are tied to emotional investment. The brain has a natural tendency to focus on people who trigger strong emotions, whether that's admiration, intrigue, or a sense of comfort. Each time she revisits your conversations or memories, she reinforces her connection to you. This explains why you might notice her attention seems persistent, even when she's not physically present. Her mind is continuously evaluating, remembering, and emotionally engaging with you. There's also an element of subtle attachment. Women often process feelings internally before expressing them externally. Thinking about you nonstop can be her way of building familiarity, understanding your personality, and gauging her emotional response. She's not necessarily testing you, but she is subconsciously assessing whether the connection is safe, genuine, and worth pursuing. The intensity of her mental focus reflects her curiosity and her emotional investment more than anything else. Finally, it's important to recognize that thinking about someone doesn't always mean immediate action. Her mind may be working through feelings, expectations, and possibilities while she maintains caution in her outward behavior. This is why subtlety is so common. The moments she seems distant or distracted are often when she is most mentally engaged with you, quietly, deeply, and continuously. When you understand these psychological reasons, it shifts your perspective. What may have seemed like ambiguity or disinterest is actually a complex internal process. Recognizing this allows you to respond with awareness, patience, and insight, seeing her mental engagement as a signal of genuine interest rather than uncertainty. You begin to notice patterns, understand her subtleties, and interpret her behavior through a lens of depth and understanding. Now that we've explored the subtle behaviors and the psychological reasons behind them, the next step is learning how to recognize these signals in real life and how to respond with confidence without overthinking or misinterpreting. This is where awareness and observation become powerful tools. The first step is attentiveness. Pay close attention to the patterns we've discussed, repeated references to past conversations, subtle mirroring of your gestures, moments of unexpected engagement, and small cues of emotional attunement. Notice consistency. One isolated gesture may not mean much, but repeated behaviors over time reveal a rhythm, a signal of ongoing thought. Watch for how she remembers small details about you and how her reactions reflect an awareness of your moods or personality. These are not coincidences. Next, consider her timing. Women often reach out during reflective or quiet moments, not necessarily at random times. If she contacts you in moments where she's likely to be introspective, it's a strong indication that she's mentally engaged. Observe how she initiates conversation or responds to your messages. Does she return to topics you've discussed? Does she follow up on minor details? These are subtle yet meaningful patterns of attention. Another practical approach is observing her curiosity. Genuine interest shows itself in questions that dig beneath surface-level conversation. If she asks about your thoughts, feelings, or experiences in ways that go beyond small talk, it's likely that she's mentally exploring your personality. She's trying to understand you on a deeper level, and her repeated inquiries are a reflection of ongoing mental engagement. Equally important is tuning into emotional resonance. Watch how she responds emotionally to your words or actions. Small micro-reactions, a subtle smile, a soft laugh, a thoughtful pause, are indicators that she is processing her feelings about you internally. These micro-reactions, when repeated over time, reveal the hidden thread of attention connecting you. They are a quiet form of validation, a sign that your presence matters more than you might think. Finally, the most powerful way to recognize these signals is by combining observation with reflection. Ask yourself, what patterns am I noticing consistently? How does she behave when I'm emotionally open or expressive? Are there moments where her attention seems especially present, even when she's outwardly calm or reserved? The answers to these questions will give you clarity. By observing attentively and reflecting thoughtfully, you begin to see beyond surface-level interactions and recognize the deep mental engagement she has with you. When you respond with confidence, it's not about pressuring or pushing her to reveal her thoughts. It's about showing that you are aware, emotionally stable, and comfortable with her subtle signals. This awareness allows you to navigate interactions with insight, creating space for genuine connection without misreading silence or subtlety as disinterest. Recognizing and understanding these patterns gives you an advantage, not to manipulate, but to engage with emotional intelligence, respect, and authenticity. Now that you've learned to recognize the subtle behaviors, understand the psychological reasons, and observe the patterns of her attention, it's time to bring it all together. What does it really mean when a woman is thinking about you nonstop? The answer is both simple and profound. She values your presence. She is mentally and emotionally investing in you in ways that most men never notice. And this quiet attention often signals a depth of curiosity and emotional connection far beyond words. When a woman keeps replaying your conversations in her mind, recalling small details and subtly adjusting her behavior, it isn't casual. It's a reflection of her internal world. She is considering who you are, how you make her feel, and what possibilities exist between you. This mental engagement is often a precursor to emotional closeness. It reveals a desire to understand, appreciate, and connect with you on a deeper level. She may not say it out loud yet, but her thoughts are shaping an invisible bond, one that you can sense if you know what to look for. This is where patience and insight become essential. Recognizing that someone is thinking about you nonstop doesn't mean rushing forward or forcing a declaration. It means appreciating the subtlety and valuing the connection as it unfolds. It's about understanding that attraction and interest often begin internally before being expressed externally. The quiet attention you've noticed is her way of investing emotionally without exposing vulnerability too quickly. It is both intentional and instinctive, a blend of curiosity, emotional resonance, and subconscious reflection. At this point, you may be wondering how to respond. The key is calm confidence. Show that you are aware and observant, but not desperate for confirmation. Acknowledge her attention through subtle engagement, thoughtful conversation, and presence. Match her depth with your own emotional awareness. By doing so, you create a space where her thoughts and feelings can continue to develop naturally, allowing the connection to deepen without pressure or expectation. And here is the ultimate truth. When a woman is thinking about you nonstop, it is not random and it is not trivial. Her mind and heart are actively exploring you, and this is a rare and valuable signal. It means she sees something in you that matters, that resonates, and that she is curious enough to invest energy into, even in silence. The challenge for most men is learning to see it, appreciate it, and respond with insight rather than doubt. So, the next time you catch a subtle glance, a remembered detail, or a small, seemingly casual gesture, recognize it for what it is: evidence of ongoing mental engagement, curiosity, and emotional interest. These are the quiet threads connecting her to you, often far more profound than words could ever express. And understanding this transforms how you perceive relationships, attention, and attraction. If you found this perspective enlightening, take a moment to like the video, subscribe, and join a community of men learning to navigate relationships with clarity, respect, and emotional intelligence. Remember, the most important insights often hide in the quietest moments. Observe them, honor them, and allow the connection to grow in ways that feel natural and meaningful.